Folks, we are back. So back, joined by none other than Patrick Laird. We do this about 18 months or so. We get the gang together, Davis, Peter, and Patrick. It's been over 6 years now since we were all in the same place at the same time, New York Giants, Miami Dolphins. And since then, Patrick, I've interviewed one of your teammates, Zach Zenner, who was ships passing in the night. We missed each other because he was on the practice squad the week before, so I would have been able to knock out another meet and greet then. Yeah, guys, let's just open it up. How are we doing, man? Patrick, how's life, brother?
Going well. I can't. Yeah, you said 6 years ago. That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it feels like it shouldn't be that long ago. No, things are going well. It's been just over a year since I was employed in the NFL, and so I actually literally just got my final severance check last
Really?
week. Yeah,
NFL players getting severance checks is a great bit. That's
Isn't that funny?
really good bit.
Yeah, it's a benefit you earn after your second year of playing, and then you get for every credited year you get a certain amount. And so got my final NFL check, and so that was a bittersweet moment. And now I'm just enjoying life in San Diego County. My wife,
a married man.
Married man, got married last April.
He couldn't wait to say my wife.
Yeah, she got a job down here, and so we're enjoying life down here, and trying to get better at golf. I don't know. You guys were talking before this about sharing handicaps live. I don't know if I'm confident enough to do that, but
Pat,
yeah, Peter,
I'm
how
down.
are you doing?
I'm down to a 16 now.
Okay,
for me, that's quite good.
That's good.
I've golfed twice in the past 2 years, both times this summer on two of the worst courses in Massachusetts. So I do not have a handicap. I have a toddler, and as she gets older, I expect to golf more. But I have nothing to share on the golf front other than I miss it.
It is the ideal summer activity. So Pat, I mean, if the people want to know, basically this is the first time in your life since what you were probably 12 that you've gone a year without getting tackled. Probably younger than 12, right? Probably since you were 10. First year in your life you've gone without, because you never tore an ACL or anything, did you?
No, I actually took a year off 8th grade, but I played. Yeah, first year of tackle football was 10 years old. I think 5th grade, 10, 11, and 1 year off in 8th grade, but first year not getting tackled. You know what? I thought my body was gonna feel like really nice.
Yes.
And it did. It did for the first like 4 or 5 months after like I stopped training for football. But then when I realized like all that training, rolling out, mobility works, just getting into the deep range of motions with heavy weight, like that was, just building resiliency in my joints and stuff. Like when I stopped doing all that, as I still work out obviously, but I realized like, wow, you can lose a lot of that strength pretty quickly, and my body was not as like strong as I thought it was or was going to hold up. I'm starting to feel some of the old football injuries pop up again, but it's been interesting not to be tackled.
What is your training like now? Because like you said, I'm sure you still want to stay in shape. Is it hard to not have a specific goal in mind? Are you in maintenance mode, or are you optimizing for anything?
Honestly, I've kind of like ebbed and flowed. Like sometime for like a month or two, I'll just be running a decent amount, doing like decent distance. For me would be like 6 to 8 miles or something like that. But just running on a consistent basis. And then other times I'm like trying to do more functional athletic training, still throw some weight on the bar and do some squats or cleans, jump, just go into the gym and try to dunk and just do like fun stuff like that. Still try to sprint at least like once a week. So I'm just not, before it was like every day I had about a 2 to 4 hour block in my mind where like I was focused on training. Now I'm trying to focus on other things and then get a good workout in. And so whatever I'm kind of feeling in that moment or in that week is kind of what I'm focusing on. So less consistent and kind of going back and forth between maybe doing some endurance stuff or just weightlifting, but just trying to do like healthy longevity stuff.
So you
is
don't
really
have
my main
like a
goal.
written program. You don't have like, this is what I'm working on for like the next like 3 months or whatever. Cause that was your whole
No.
life since 8th grade.
Yeah. No, I just kind of like, sometimes I feel like doing a long run, and then sometimes I feel like just
Yeah.
going and lifting for an hour. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of, I'm going with what I'm feeling like, which maybe has its benefits, but has also its drawbacks. So yeah,
Well,
been
Yeah,
I
nice.
mean,
Just you just do whatever you feel like, I guess.
Yeah.
benefits of that are pretty obvious. Like your brain probably feels great. You're like, oh man, I'm releasing so much serotonin right now. All I want to do is go and on a nice little run. I went on a run. I came home. I had dinner. Like life is great right now. But then, I mean, yeah, there are obvious trade-offs, which is you're not as strong, you're not as fast, you're not as dynamic, whatever.
Right.
But like that is probably not as big of a deal to you right now.
Yeah. I would like to
How,
stay athletic. Yeah, some days you just don't feel like sprinting 100%. Whereas
Yeah.
before, it was like I just forced myself to do that repeatedly throughout the week, whether I wanted to or not. Now I'm just like, I just won't sprint today.
what about the mental shift? Because that's the other huge thing of like, for up until this point, you have been like, hey, I'm training to play in the NFL. And now that you're like past that, like where does your mind drift of, your next goals or things you hope to accomplish?
Um, Honestly, it's actually been a little bit more challenging than I anticipated, just because I thought like part of my identity was never like, oh, I'm just a football player. I always focused on school and had interests outside of playing football. And so in my head, and I think from people outside perspective, I was just going to hit the ground running and transition into the next career. And I wouldn't say like I haven't like wasted all this time the past year doing nothing, just sitting around playing golf and working out. But there has been a little bit of a challenge on like, figuring out exactly the next step for me. Like right now, I my goal and what I envision myself doing is buying a small business and being an owner operator of a small business. And so I've been working with a small business here in San Diego County, just getting a little like experience, just doing like volunteer, working for him for free, this owner. Um, but yeah, I'm looking for my own opportunity to do my own thing. And so like if I had like envisioned like, hey, right when I was done playing football, I would have loved to find a business within like the first 6 months or 8 months, whatever, but it's already been over a year. And I think part of that was right when I got released, I had the potential opportunity to get more calls like during training
Right.
camp or early in the season. So I had to stay in shape for a bit. So I couldn't fully focus on searching for a business. So that kind of delayed it. And then finally around like November, late last year, I was like, okay, I think
I was
I'm
gonna
done
say no
playing.
one called you in week 8. Like, oh man, dude, we have no running backs and no one who can play special teams. What is the assistant to the regional quarterback doing?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I mean, I had a couple calls leading up to training camp saying, "Hey, he's on our emergency list, so stay ready." So I knew there was some outside shot. Um, but I also knew, I was a 29-year-old running back, had spent the last 2 years on a practice squad. I kind of knew the chances got slimmer and slimmer after training camp ended. And then nothing came around by the end of the season. And so, yeah, that's kind of when I was just like, all right, I'm done. I don't have to focus on training as much. I can start to focus on looking to buy a business. And then at the turn of the year, at the beginning of this year, is when I started doing some volunteer, like part-time work with a business, just trying to help them grow, get experience and learn what it's like to grow a small business. So that's kind of what I've been doing, filling my time with, along with some golf and hanging out with family and friends.
All right, how much golf are we talking? How many rounds this year?
Oh, how many rounds this year? You know what? I could actually just pull this up. If I had to guess, I'd say on average once a week.
Okay, that's probably I've probably
That's
been playing a little bit.
reasonable.
I was gonna say I'm probably playing a little bit more than that, and I'm theoretically gainfully employed by myself.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up how
Let's
many
see.
rounds I've actually played.
Yeah, I was expecting you when you mentioned golf right up there with working. I was like, oh, you're golfing 3-4 times a week. Is what I thought you were gonna say.
I'd say like there's been weeks where I've definitely golfed 3, maybe 4 times. I don't know how to just filter by the year. I have my eight. So for the people just listening, I have my phone up and I'm
Oh,
looking at
come
my
on.
18 birdies app.
I was gonna say you got to add me on 18 birdies.
Okay, is that how you? That's how you track yours?
Yeah. I played way more rounds than that. I've probably been averaging about 2 a week over the last 3 or 4 months or so.
Oh, okay, wow. Nice.
I've been absolutely grinding here. Actually, I'll break news on the Takecast. So I'm having my first child in the fall. That's
Wow.
the first time I've said that out on the internet. So that's
Dave, you've said it about 4 different Discord threads up to this point, but this is the
fair
public
enough.
airways.
Fair enough. Publicly. So I am I'm like I got to get all the golf in that I could possibly get right now.
Yeah.
You know, because I think the first year, based on my interpretation of viewing it on the outside, both in Peter's life and then in other people I know, is you're not golfing. The first year, there's just no way. You wouldn't even want. You're too tired to want to go the first year, I think.
It's that, and it's just like you know, when you have the kid, that your free time becomes so diminished, and then you think about, how do I want to spend my free time? And the thing about golf, even if you're going to play 9 holes, right, with like
so much time,
it's like 3 hours minimum just to like get there, play. And so you're like, yes, I would like to do that. But of all the things I want to do, going on a date with my wife, or like getting a workout in, or whatever it is, it's like golf becomes like the 19th thing you'll think about. And then you'll get to my stage with like a 2.5-year-old and you're like, fuck, I want to go play golf more. And you start to like find ways to do it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I could only imagine. But Davis, congratulations. How are you feeling about fatherhood approaching?
Oh, I mean, I can't wait. I love kids. I've been around kids a bunch in my life. I'm like super jazzed. It's gonna be an awesome experience. At least, you know, it's been a cool experience thus far.
And are you guys finding out the gender before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know. We're having a boy.
Is it?
Oh, nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So like 5 years from now, I'm going to have someone to come to the golf course with me. Cause that's the other thing. My dad did this when I was young, when I was like 4 or 5, my dad turned that into a family. Like, oh, I'm going to take Davis and we're going to go to the driving range. So that is both an adult responsibility and you get to go, which is a cool thing that I'm looking forward to doing when I'm Peter's age, basically, when I grow up.
It is fun, like now having her, you know, because there's that, say, you know, when they're a baby, like everything revolves around them, their environment, what they need. And then, you know, they get mobile, and you can, obviously you still have to like cater things to them, but you can go do errands, you can go do things, you can accomplish other things with them, which is like a very fun stage. Like we went, you know, furniture shopping with April yesterday, and she's just like crawling over all the furniture at the store for the whole time. And we're like getting stuff done, talking to them. And it's fine once they become, you know, real humans that you can incorporate into your life.
Yeah, it's a crazy experience. Where are you golfing at? Do you have like a place close? Because that's the big thing with golf, is if you have a place, it's always, if you don't have to get on the highway to go golf, it's like mentally so much easier to just get in the car and go play. But if you have to get on the highway, then you're like, well, what's the point? I don't want to do that.
Yeah, so I'm super lucky. We live like a mile from this place called Encinitas Ranch in North County, San Diego. And it's a public course, but there's like this local golf management company that runs like 10 or so courses here in San Diego, called the JC Club, and it's a part of that club, so you can book a little bit farther ahead out, and then you can get reduced rates. So I joined that like JC membership thing, and so I can book early tee times at this course called Encinitas Ranch, and it's just like, it's a 5-minute drive. It's incredibly fun. It's beautiful. You can see the ocean from most of the holes, and it's on the easier side. So I've had like all my best scoring. That's basically like why my handicap has come down, is because I played this course a bunch, and so I just know it super well. And I've met like some of my best buddies out here, love playing the course as well, and they can get out during the middle of the week. So we just go play it, and I've just shot some like low rounds there. But yeah, there. And then I would say like, the other way I've been playing a lot more. So I've kind of like undercounts well, like in my head, I've been playing more golf is I've been playing at this place called the Bermuda Club. So it's this like indoor golf simulator
Oh, it's like X
social
golf.
club.
Yeah.
But it's like it has like a gym, a sauna, ice bath, co-working space, like a speakeasy and a bar
Wow.
setup. So they
Wow.
like host
Sign me up. This
events.
sounds like the coolest place in the world.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then they have the 4 golf simulators, and there's just like scramble tournaments. And so I'll just randomly pop in and go like hit some golf, you can just like set up like a range, or you can play around at like all these different courses. So it's I've been playing more golf just doing that too.
That's awesome.
Are you hip to the cold plunge? What do you like, the cold plunge or the heat more?
I'm in the sauna. So we also live next to this YMCA. So I walk over to the YMCA, and I'm in the sauna like 5 to 7 days a week. Like almost every night I go over to the sauna.
You know how bougie Pete is. Pete has a sauna in his backyard.
It's in my basement. So I added the cold plunge. But I recently changed up my kind of routine with it because I love doing the cold plunge after the sauna, doing the hot to the cold, feels good. However, like I started doing a decent amount of research because generally when I lift, then I'll do the sauna and all that. But the extreme cold actually
so
stunts,
bad for
like, the
hypertrophy.
muscle. Yeah. So you want like, a 6 hour plus, window before you do that. And on top of it, I found the nights that I do sauna and cold plunge before bed, like I sleep much better. So I've now set it up where I essentially only do sauna and cold plunge at night. Like once April goes down for bed, I'll do that. And then I just feel like so relaxed before bed. And I get the distance from the workout.
Yeah. I used to do sauna ice bath a lot more when I was in Tampa, just because it was in the locker room setup was there. I will do that at the Bermuda Club it's in Carlsbad, California. But just with the YMCA right here next to us, like they don't have a cold plunge, so I just hit the sauna at the end of the day. And I think there's something about like you get that extreme heat, and then your body is like trying to like forces itself to cool down towards the end of the night, and then it gets your body towards, I don't know, like it lowers the temperature as you're getting ready to go to bed. It's supposed to help with sleep. So I definitely I notice if I do hit the sauna before I get ready for bed, it's just like it definitely helps my sleep. I don't know if you experience the same thing or not.
For sure. Yeah. It's
I've never done
relaxing.
it at night because I just do the sauna at my gym after I get done training, and I train at 5 a.m. So like I'm in the sauna at 6:45. I'm back on my desk by 7:30 in the morning. So
Is that just because of your work schedule? Like that's how you like to set up like when you start work?
I mean, it's just basically like my wife is a morning person, so I started getting up, and now I'm just like, I'm a big creature of habit. I can't get off the routine. So once the routine started of alarm goes off at 5 a.m, like I'm not changing it. I can't go back. Because if I tried to change it, like tried to work out in the afternoon or whatever, it's just like that's a vicious cycle. I don't want to go down.
When you start work at 7:30, like what's the schedule look like from there?
Well, right now, Pat, this is like go time for Peter and I. This is like the most hip. Like July and August is like you make your year in July and August. So I'm at my desk till 5:30. So what's that, 10, 11 hours of just whatever.
Is it just content? Or are you guys like are you doing research on prospect? Like what is the time filled with?
For me, it's a lot of like content type stuff. I have no idea what Peter is doing when he's not on a live stream, so you'd have to ask him.
What am I doing when I'm not on a live?
Pete, what are you doing?
Well, I write the Fantasy Life newsletter. I do columns for them. I do a ton of streams. I research videos. It's a mix of research, live streaming, pre-recorded content, written content. But yeah, Davis is right. I mean, now is the time, like quite literally the Monday after 4th of July, when like normies start being like, all right, I got my home league draft on August 30th. Let me peruse through a magazine. Let me watch some videos. Let me read some articles and start thinking about who I want to take. So this is go time for everybody paying attention.
Yeah, and Peter has like Pete has like an editor and a guy who like makes the thumbnails for his YouTube videos and things.
Yeah,
I
I get sucked into those all the time.
Well, I don't have that because I'm not there yet. So I have to do all that stuff myself. So it's a lot of it just takes a long time to get through. The thumbnails, man. I mean, the psychology of a YouTube thumbnail, Pat, that is fascinating stuff that I think about all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, I think Peter, are you doing like A/B testing with any of those thumbnails, or you just have like a firm that just
Yeah,
generates
do
them
you
and
do
just
that,
like
Pete?
I don't A/B test. I know YouTube's actually rolling that out. I haven't received it on my account. The ability to do it where it
I have
switches.
it on mine. You
Really?
don't have it on the Deposit Kingdom? I bet it's there.
No. I'm looking at it now. Not on the
Go
Deposit Kingdom.
to create a new video. Well, I guess you can't do it because you don't have a file. But if you click on the upload thumbnail thing, and it should give you an option that says test and compare.
Yeah, I mean they had the thing where they were saying like, so Mr. Beast with his, they allow him to essentially send it out to two different
Sets of
sub-testing
people.
groups, which is like how an email works, how you can A/B test like an email
Right.
headline, and then it chooses a winner. It says based on how many people, then they'll do that. I would say I feel like my thumbnail guy does a really good job, and we've tested like lots of things. So I kind of just now know there's basic rules of thumb of like what works. And then you kind of just want to lean into what works. But honestly, like, I don't know. I think for live streaming stuff, the thumbnail is completely overrated. I think it doesn't really matter that much for a live stream audience.
Yeah, that's true.
But I just want shit to look cool. Like I just want it to look good. And so if it looks good to me, then like that's the win, even if it's not like perfectly optimized for a random robot.
Man, you know what? Just as I'm spitballing here, Pat, you would actually be a fascinating person for like a vlog style channel. Like if you're lifting weights and golfing and going like you have the hook. No, you have the hook. You're like, I was a former NFL player. Now I'm X, Y, and Z, whatever you want to call it. Like that is a whole genre of YouTube experience that people, and you're probably, you honestly, you probably don't like to talk enough to do it. Cause like you've got to do a lot of talking by yourself, like to a video camera, but I bet you would be successful at it. I don't know if you'd enjoy it, but that would be a successful thing.
Yeah, I just don't enjoy that sort of content. I'm just so over like people that are trying to make money off of or like what they go into is trying to build an audience on themselves and then create a business out of it, rather than like I respect more of the influencers that go in. They're like, all right, like I'm very into home gardening, and they actually focus on home gardening. And then they film themselves doing what they're actually passionate about, right? And then they end up making some businesses off of the home gardening stuff that they filmed on YouTube. Whereas now there's so many people have seen that blueprint, but then what they do is they try to build an audience to start a business. And I don't like that. And so I know it's you were saying something a little bit different where there are just people who like do cool things on vlog it. I get that, but I'm just so not interested in that line of work.
Well, and the other thing is it's not sustainable, right? Like the people who are like, right now a very popular thing on TikTok, because they now have like the TikTok shop and it's linked really well. So like, even if you just have like a random brand of clothing you like and you make a video and then you kind of like turn it into an advertisement for that, you can get affiliate bucks even for a random product you're not partnered with. So there's all these accounts now trying to game it. Like there's all these momfluencers, I see it looking at kids stuff. And it's the same thing where it's like, yeah, you're going to get that, short-term buzz and the money from that. But like, are you really excited about making these infomercials for all of these things like over and over again versus, like you said, the creators who just are like, I'm really into fitness content and I'm going to document my journey or whatever, then it's sustainable because they like to do it and they're going to be able to do that for a long time. And then opportunities will naturally come their way.
Yeah. And I think just me personally, like I'm more interested in like producing, I think like trying to produce something or provide a service that's like a tangible thing in real life with my next career,
How to train like an NFL athlete.
Yeah, I just don't want to do anything like that. I'd just rather like by a small business that helps residential customers with the home service or something. I don't
Wow,
know.
that is you are a good old fashioned American man. What is your YouTube diet like? Are you an iPad kid, or are you watching YouTube videos on your sideways iPhone while you eat your eggs in the morning?
Um, I'm liable to do something like that while I cook, but like
For
I'm not
sure.
like I'm not like a YouTube addict, I'd say. But a lot of like comedy, honestly, a lot of comedy stuff. I like stand-up comedy, so some of their podcasts, some like stand-up clips, um, some like political news breakdowns. I like watch everything that Jon Stewart puts out. He's so good right now. I don't know. Do you guys follow any of his show?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So like some political stuff, and then like I like home gardening things,
For your example, it sounds like that's what you're actually thinking about.
What is in your home garden right now? Wait, give us the rundown. What's in Patrick Laird's home garden?
we have a lemon tree, avocado tree, and then we have some
that
like
is so California of you, man.
green
That is
onions,
painfully California.
and then I got a little compost pile going. So I'm getting into it, and one day we want to have like chickens or something. So we're kind of like learning about that, growing food at home and all that sort of thing.
That is very that's kind of is your wife younger than you? Like, is she like 25 or something? Because that is super Gen Z.
No, she's not. She's like 3 months younger than me.
Oh, okay. That just like I guess you are what you're about 20 years younger than Pete and about 4 years younger than me.
We're both 29, so we're like the very end of the millennials.
Yeah. That the whole
1995 is the cutoff, or 96 or something around there.
Homesteading and all that stuff, like all that is super Gen Z. I mean, not that it's not appealing. I've tried the home gardening thing. About best I can do is tomatoes and a jalapeno plant. Anything else, I'm not cut out for it. That requires a level of care and attention to detail and memorization that I don't possess.
Yeah, luckily here, like in San Diego County, it's like relatively easier. It's just lots of sunlight. Soil's usually pretty conducive to like a lot of plants. As long as you get the watering down, you can grow a lot of different types of fruits and vegetables.
That's the thing too about like that, because it's like, yeah, you do all this interesting stuff, because I agree when Davis says like people would be really interested to like follow around what you're doing, like vlog style, but it's so unappealing to have to think of everything you do in your life through the lens of content. Like, I think Davis and I are similar with this. Like, we're either on or we're off. Like, if we're at our desk, like we're content mode, and then we're not. Like, I don't want to think about content. Like, I don't want to be filming myself. I don't want to be like, because I remember there was a stage in my life. It was when Twitter was like really exciting. Like when I got on it, like 2010, 11 era, I thought of everything through the lens of a tweet. Every thought in my head was like, could that be a joke? Could that be this? And like at the time, that was fun. And now it's like, I never think about that. Like, I don't take photos thinking this is for Instagram. I don't, and it's nice to be in that spot because like when Davis and I are in it, like you're so in it, and then you just want to eject from it. And those vloggers, it's like every single thought you have, it's like, how does this become content that I then post?
Yeah, it just feels so disingenuous. I don't know. It's just when I see it online, like I just it doesn't make me feel good about like what people are doing outside. Like, and it'll be funny because there'll be like some videos. It's like get outside and spend time with others, and it's like, well, you just made a video of you doing that.
Tell it.
Or content online. And yeah, some people that post that stuff, they are genuine about the message and all that. But a lot of the time, you can kind of smell when it seems fake.
Yeah,
I've thought about ways to do that for fantasy football. Like one of the ideas I had is get up really early, like 5:30, be the first one out on a golf course and film, like have like my camera, maybe bring my wife with me or someone, and like do the contents of a fantasy football video while golfing. Like hit a putt and be like, and Tyreek Hill is a bad 3rd round pick or whatever. And then like stitch it in together later. I've been thinking about ways to do that. And then I got about 5 minutes into thinking about that, and then I was like, oh God, it's just basically to Peter's point of being like, I just want to have some things in my life that are things in my life that are not ways to be commoditized and capitalized upon. But it is a good idea. I think it is a good idea, and if I don't do it, someone else should do this. Basically.
Well, it goes back to the other thing about it being sustainable, right? Because even if you have a good content idea or something you like, for it to ever gain traction, for it to ever become a thing, you have to do it over and over and over again. So you better fucking love it, because you can't just do something as a one-off. You can have the best idea in the world. If you do it as a one-off, like, it's never going to stick.
No, that's actually, you make a very good point. Yeah.
Because actually,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I've actually participated in a golf podcast. I was a guest on someone's.
Oh, really?
He was trying to get it going, and he filmed an episode with me, and I assume he probably did some other trial episodes, but it just, I guess, it never got published. And I've heard people talk about that style format, and I know a comedian, Andrew Santino, just started a golf podcast where he walks and talks and plays, but it's just
that guy's really funny.
He's really funny, and he does a good job with it. But like, he does that for a living, so I think it's tough for just like a random. I mean, you guys obviously have experience behind the microphone doing interviews and talking fantasy football, but like while you're golfing as well, and you kind of have to hold the attention of a guest. And it's a lot of factors that it's
a different
format to pull off. Yeah.
Who is the king of this? No fantasy football angle, but Bryson DeChambeau is literally the best YouTuber alive. Like, his YouTube videos, his editing, the audio, the people that come on. He actually, looping it into football, Matt Stafford did this with him 3 or 4 months ago. They play from the red tees, and they play as a scramble, and they try and break 50. And like, he's getting like Matt Stafford is like, is he an A-list celebrity, B-list maybe? I mean, Matt Stafford's pretty high up there, and he's just like happy to. And obviously part of that is Bryson is an incredible golfer. Like, the content itself, the golfing content is great. But I just was watching it, just fascinated, being like, these are two of the most famous people alive, just trying to beat the YouTube algorithm. Like, that's all. They're fighting the same battle that all these other, content people are trying to beat. Like, it's funny to think of Bryson as a YouTuber.
But that's go ahead.
Well, I was just going to comment on Bryson. I think he's successful because I think he is a fan of like the YouTubers.
Oh, 100%.
Like, he seems like he follows like other vloggers, maybe outside of the golf space. And then he just became the first big golfer to do it. And he's become pretty good at it. He seems like he likes doing it.
And that is the holy grail of all of it, right? Is like, you have the fame, but then you also have the personality and the passion for something. It's why, like, even all of these athlete podcasts, like the Kelsey podcast is one of the biggest ones, right? It's because you get people already, like, the sales pitch is there. 2 football players who are brothers talk about whatever's in their life, and one's dating the most popular person in the world. Like, pretty easy sell. But then they're charismatic, they have the rapport with each other, and it's like, boom, now you're pouring gasoline on a fire. Where there's plenty of examples of charismatic people who aren't famous, or famous people who just aren't good at content, or not good at being native to the platform they're trying to grow on. And I mean, same thing with like Pat McAfee, right? Like, he got the kind of like domain expertise, NFL player, all this stuff, and then has this massive personality for broadcasting. It's like, boom, superstar.
Right. And so, like, I like the people that like fits their personality. Like, if it's Bryson, it fits Pat McAfee, but then people see all the money that they make producing that sort of content, and then they try to like copy them, and it just doesn't fit their personality. But I get it. It's just, there's a lot of money out there with advertisers and the content space, and so people are trying to step in.
Yeah, but if you're to your larger point, to really return to it, like, if you are like, I'm signing up for YouTube as my job, and I'm just gonna do the thing that I think is gonna make the most money, not the thing that I just like to do, it's gonna be no different than selling insurance for State Farm. You're going to your own salt mine, of a different variety. Yeah, it's the same as I mean, you are your own boss, I guess, but you know, you got to make money for somebody.
Would you
Yeah,
guys say that like the bulk of your guys' content is doing live streams on YouTube? Because I was just scrolling through both your guys' channels before, and it seems like you guys have like pretty consistent live streams. Is that the bulk of the content nowadays?
For us, yeah.
I've started to do more pre-produced, like recorded video type stuff, but yeah, I mean, still like 70-80% of it is live.
Yeah,
Is
there's a big dichotomy between like live streaming is really good for your existing audience. Like for your community, like people love it. They show up. Like the percentage of people who watch live is a really big percentage of the overall view count. Whereas it's the complete opposite for a lot of, say the vloggers, right? Like those are pre-produced videos. They're not interacting with people live, and their views come exclusively after the recording. And the algorithm is much, much more friendly to those videos because they are engineered to hold someone's attention in a tighter amount of time. Like you don't see 2-hour vlogs. That'd be a fucking movie. Whereas you'll see Davis and I do 2 to 4 hour live streams because the production element isn't there. So it's like two very different ways of existing on YouTube, just accomplishing different goals.
And is there a good mix between content producers that try to fit into both sides of that? Like zero live stream production, but all pre-recorded stuff, like fantasy content, and then more like heavy live stream content?
My experience with this is as long as the channel is consistent about the thing that it addresses, the data between like a pre-produced video and a live video will actually be pretty similar. So I do all the pre-produced stuff and the live stuff on the same channel. And some people will only watch the live stuff. A small number of people only watch the pre-produced stuff. Most people who subscribe to the channel will watch both. And there's a huge YouTuber who does fantasy football. His name is Mason Dodd. I think it's got to be like the biggest fantasy football channel there is. It's called Flock Fantasy. And I had a conversation with him in like February or March, and he was like, because I was kind of worried that basically like doing the pre-produced stuff on my channel would just like confuse the algorithm, whatever. And he told me the same thing Peter said, which is basically the only people who watch your live videos already know who you are. They already like you. No one, like, think about this. You're never going to tune into a 4-hour video of someone just live sitting at their computer if you don't really already know who they are or what they're about, right? So it's really hard to grow that way. So I've been trying to loop more of the people in that way with the pre-produced stuff.
And you think about it this way, like I have 2 channels, one for the live streaming and one for the pre-produced, because I just did a 4-hour live stream. And like Davis said, someone who doesn't know me, like say I make this banger, pre-recorded video. It's like 12 minutes, everything you need to know about fantasy football in 2025. And then immediately after that, this person, they watch it, they're like, love it. And now they get served up my 4-hour live stream where I was talking with my host about moisture wicking boxer briefs in between draft picks. And they're like, fuck this, I'm gone. This isn't what I signed up for. And so that user experience for that person is not a good one. And so I like to keep all of my pre-produced videos on one. So it's an evergreen thing where you could binge watch 15 of my videos on that channel and have a good experience, as opposed to like, if you want to watch a 4-hour live stream, you know who I am and you know what you're signing up for, and you're like excited for that in a way a stranger who is just introduced is not going to have the patience for.
Got it. That makes sense. Nice.
A lot of YouTube theorizing.
Which, by the way, what kind of training gear do you like to wear, Patrick? Are you a Lululemon guy?
Yeah, what do you train in, Pat?
Yeah.
I've been wearing a lot of Viore recently.
Okay.
This dude is so California, bro.
Yeah.
Well, that's like that's an Instagram influenced brand. I think you're getting influenced by the influencers, Patrick.
The headquarters of Viore are in Encinitas.
Okay.
Which is like North County, San Diego. So no, I honestly I'll wear whatever, like Nike, Lululemon, Viore, my old like cow gear I'm wearing right now.
Do they not do they don't do Carhartt shirts out in California? Do you just get laughed out of the gym if you wear the big Carhartt shirt?
Oh, there's people wearing that out here, but no, I can't pull it off. So
How about this? If you're gonna win, you're wearing your Cal stuff? Will you wear any of your NFL team gear?
Yeah, you
In
wearing?
the
Are
gym,
you
or
wearing
is that too
dolphin
hard?
shorts?
Yeah, I was thinking about that recently. I was like, I think I'm allowed to now, and I can
Yeah,
just be like,
of
I'm just a
course you
fan.
are.
I'm a fan of both organizations. I think I can start rocking some old Dolphins and Bucks
Pat,
gear.
you were a professional NFL player, brother. You can wear your gear whenever you want.
I know it's
You
just
know,
an awkward thing. It's like someone's like, because like every once in a while, people be like, "Oh, are you a fan of that team?" Like I remember a couple years ago, I was working out and I threw on a Dolphins shirt, and then some lady at the gym was like, or no, sorry, it wasn't Dolphins, it was Bucks. And Letty's like, are you a Bucks fan? Yeah, yeah. I was like, yeah, I like the team. And she's like, did you just become a Bucks fan when Brady started playing with the team? And I was like,
and you're like, in some ways, yes.
In some ways.
that's what I said. I was like, yeah, in the last couple of years for sure. And she's like, I'm a Patriots fan. I like whatever. She's like, I'm mad at Tom for leaving, something like that. But yeah, like that's the reason I sometimes avoid it, because then you can kind of like avoid those awkward conversations. But no, I think now maybe I'll just start rocking them, and just then I don't have to buy any workout gear for like 10 years. I have a ton of old t-shirts and workout gear. So
That's hilarious. You'll appreciate this, Laird. So in our fantasy football stuff, we do these best ball drafts. All the money is won in week 17. So like what the week 17 matchups are is very important. And early on, when the schedule's released, we all are like racing to memorize the matchup. So when we're in our drafts, we're like, hey, can we go heavy on this game? If it's a shootout, we want multiple players from that same game. Well, this year, the Bucks and Dolphins play in week 17. And as a mnemonic device to help us remember, we have dubbed it the Laird Bowl. And that's how we remember who played.
Wow.
The Laird Bowl, you got Tampa Bay and Miami, bada bing, bada boom.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
That's insane that you guys do that.
It is.
It is insane that we do that.
But so, how fast do you need that recall in a draft? Like, couldn't you reference it fast enough?
You can. It just becomes helpful when you're doing a bunch, or if you're on mobile. All of us now, like, we see a team or a player and we just immediately know, because we've now done hundreds of these.
Ask us a team and we'll be able to tell you who they played in week 17. Just name any NFL team.
Chargers.
Texans.
The Bills.
Eagles.
The Ravens.
Packers.
Packers. Davis got me on that one.
Vikings.
Lions.
That's like the game. That's like the game you want. It's in a dome. JJ McCarthy, Jared Goff. That's like the game you really want.
Wow.
It's the worst party trick in the world, Patrick, is what it is.
It can't be worse than my ability to know the positional ADP of any given player. That's a worse party trick, I think.
Yeah.
Pat, what did you watch football this year? What was like experiencing football from the outside? Like not being on a team or a practice squad or anything?
I've always said, like, I always enjoyed watching Red Zone when I was playing, and I still love Red Zone. Love to watch the big Sunday night matchups, Monday Night Football matchups. Like, just absolutely love just watching the game. I'd say, yeah, like the thing I kind of missed was like being very intimate with like the inner dealings of like a season and like the storyline that's going on. Like I still had like some really good buddies on the team with like the Bucks, I guess, and like, but you don't know what's going on in the day to day, right? Like you see that a player is not playing on a Sunday, and you didn't know about that until like it was announced 20 minutes or whatever, 90 minutes before the game. But like, if you're on the team, you kind of had an idea like this guy was battling something that week. And I don't know. So it's just like, you just feel like a little bit left out of some of like the intimate information that you used to have access to. But at the end of the day, like, I just still love watching football, and like, it's just fun to, see division rivals play each other and watch those storylines. And hey, is this quarterback going to actually take over and be the guy this year? And I don't know. I think it's like, it's one of the best like pieces of like reality TV that we have that's like real and entertaining.
Sure.
Unless you guys have some listeners that buy into that it's all rigged.
Oh my god, I kind of forgot about that. I feel like that moment in time
Yeah.
has sort of passed the NFL.
I mean,
The
people
NFL being
are
rigged.
convinced the NBA has like some rigging going on, but I don't know. It's just like there's so many stakeholders and big money at play. It would just be impossible.
They let
So,
the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers make the NBA Finals, and they said it was rigged. That's crazy. These are literally like two of the smallest markets in the NBA.
yeah, I don't know anything about the lottery or the draft lottery though. Like that always seems fishy. But yeah, the games and all that. Yeah, I don't know. Except now with the gambling stuff coming out, the NBA has a real big problem with that. Have you guys seen some of those storylines?
Yeah.
Beasley. Well, the Malik Beasley one is really sad because it doesn't sound like anyone corrupt. It sounds like it sounds like he just really has a problem. Like there was like a story that came out that like he owed his dentist like $30,000. Like he was getting sued by his apartment building because he hadn't paid rent all year. Like and then there's that one and the Jonte Porter one. Jonte Porter just seemed like he's a bad guy or maybe not very smart. But I tell you, there is no way that it would just be NBA players. Like, dude, there's got to be, I don't know if there's golfers, I don't know if it's baseball players, but there will be more of this stuff that comes out. There was actually just a guy, Louis Ortiz, pitcher for the Cleveland Guardians, I think, who's suspended right now pending, review, pending investigation to see if he is involved in one.
He was betting like the under on the strikeouts or something.
Well, it would never be the athlete. It would be like their friends, like through like these like side accounts. That was what the Jonte Porter one was. But I mean, end of the day, the fact that sports betting is like, and obviously you're never going to be able to explain this to a normal person, but if sports betting was illegal, this stuff would never get caught because there's no regulatory body. No one would ever notice it. The fact that sports betting is legal is the only, like, Jonte Porter would have just gotten away with this 10 years ago or whatever.
Yeah. Peter, you were on a stream recently where you were talking about the new tax law, right?
Yeah.
It has something to do that's going to upend sports gambling. You had some clickbaity title that I fell for.
That I got you for. Yeah, so in the big beautiful bill, there was a provision for professional gambling and sports betting and how you file those taxes. And in this provision, you're now only going to be able to write off up to 90% of your losses. So previously, if like I won $100,000 on one site and I lost $100,000 on another, like I'm break even on the year gambling, no taxes paid, we move on. Now it would be I would have to pay taxes on some of those losses that I wasn't able to write off. I'd only be able to write off 90,000 of my losses, and I'd actually owe taxes on that extra 10,000, even though I lost 100,000. So it's basically a death knell for professional gamblers, because now not only do you have to, beat the rake, beat the vig, but you also have to beat a higher percentage of your losses than normal.
Is that only if you're in two separate accounts? What if you're just on like one, the way you just described that? Like, what if you're on one sports betting account?
That's what everyone's trying to figure out for like fantasy, because if you just play on one site, the way it's given a 1099, it's just all of your winnings and losses in an aggregate that comes in a 1099. So in that regard, I do think it seems like you're going to be okay. But it's for like, what if I win 100,000 on Underdog, but lose 100,000 on DraftKings? Now I'm asking, my accountant or whoever to reconcile these things. And according to this, it seems like that would then be one of those cases where I'd only be able to write off 90% of my losses because I'm actually pulling from different places. So yeah,
I'll say this, for fantasy players, theoretically, I would err on it being closer to dust in the wind. What it's miserable for, and I don't think there's any way for it to sustain, is professional poker players, and probably pro sports bettors, like people who literally their entire income is betting on sports. If you accurately report your earnings as a professional poker player or sports bettor in the United States, and this bill passes and is enacted with no adjustments, no reconciliations, nothing, and there already is Dana Titus has already proposed an amendment called Bet Fair, I believe is the title of the amendment, that would basically make it a nothing burger. So maybe we'll see. But professional poker will not exist in the United States anymore if this passes as it goes forward, which sucks because poker is cool.
Oh,
And
that'd be crazy.
The other thing too, and I don't know how much like it's going to hurt a rec gambler too, right? Like someone who like goes to the casino, once a year, and say they hit on like a slot machine thing, but then they had some losses, generally you would have been able to write that off, but you could have these casuals who basically wake up with taxes on stuff that they didn't even realize they should be reporting. And you can get into whether you could get away with not, filing or whatever, how much that stuff is actually going to be tracked. But by the letter of the law, a casual gambler who, the granny at the slots could end up having a tax bill on a break-even year, which seems crazy too.
Yeah. What do you guys think there is like some people might call like an epidemic of like young sports gamblers
Yes.
in the US? What do you guys think about that?
Unquestionably not great that via a combination of like inflation makes people feel helpless because they're like, well, I'll never be able to work hard enough to buy a nice house and, go on vacation and all that. And then to just be met with gambling opportunities everywhere in your life, right? Robinhood has a billion different ways that you can go like 100x or do whatever. You've got all the sports betting applications, fantasy football, is like everything that you are bombarded with is like you can gamble on everything. It's definitely not good for the human brain to be interacting with that much chance all the time, every day. As someone who interacts with chance that much every time all the day, I can say it's definitely not optimal.
Well, because I was gonna say like it also kind of ties into like your guys' like work and like the content you produce. Like gambling is a big part of the industry of fantasy football, right? Like it's like
For
I don't know,
sure.
how do you guys feel about that? And do you guys like wrestle with that
Well,
kind of that in your heads?
Well, one thing I would say, like, both a literal distinction of fantasy being a game of skill compared to slots, but also how that game of skill manifests with how you interact with it. Like, I was on a live stream this morning, like getting into the weeds about talking about the EV of how a contest unfolds. And we get into real in-depth, like strategy discussions about how roster builds impact your win rate. Like there is this like level of engagement with it that even feels both entertainment, but like it's intellectual, it's like community driven, as opposed to going and playing online slots where you are quite literally just injecting dopamine in almost a robotic-esque way. So to me, that is like a huge distinction of far as like, how are you actually participating in the gambling? And I think the games of skill result in such a healthier relationship with gambling. And still, that's not to say that there aren't issues. I think there are, but in general, I think it results in better relationships compared to, online casino type stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a huge difference between the two things. Like, and also, I mean, I'm also not someone that's like, oh, gambling is bad, no one should do it, like nanny state type stuff. I like playing fantasy football. I like gambling. I like playing pick'ems. Like I like all that. I'm a consenting adult who understands what I am. I understand the probabilities of the thing that I am engaging with. Obviously the thing that is annoying or troublesome is like there are a bunch of 18-year-olds with no financial literacy or 21-year-olds with no financial literacy who like don't understand what they're engaging with.
Yeah, it's tough. No, I don't really know the answer. It's just we got to figure out like a way to like incentivize people to to steer clear of that unhealthy gambling behavior, especially for young dudes who seem to become susceptible to becoming addicted to it.
Well, and this is another thing that I believe it's the AGA, the American Gambling Association, that it was revealed that they were in favor of this tax. And, you know, if you really start to untangle the motives and stuff, they actually want to weed out, because like the casinos and the big lobby groups want the pro players out, right? Those are the extractors from their business. They want the recreational gamblers who lose a lot of money playing on their site. Like that's their ideal customer. And that is also like a huge issue with this whole complex, is like ultimately the end game for how like you even see a site like DraftKings where they now like you can go play online casino. It's like you play fantasy first. Oh, then you start doing sports betting. Now just go play slots. That's the quickest way to get money from one of their customers, is through those things. And that's what's kind of scary about all of this, like whether limiting pro sports bettors or them lobbying to make the taxes harder on them. They're actually trying to get more fish in the pool, the people who are more susceptible to problem gambling in these things like addiction. So it's really a scary thing when you start to like unpack where the incentives lie.
100%. Yeah. You know what people should do is they should read. Instead of doing all this stuff, you should be reading. You should be locked in. There's no excuse to not read a minimum of 1 book per month. So you're reading 12 books per year. Pat, have you had time to read during your mini retirement? There's that story going around Twitter right now about the mini retirements.
Yeah, mini retirement. Yeah, I have been definitely like still reading the paper. Got my paper right next to me right now.
Wow,
in the mornings.
the paper Wall Street Journal.
And then yeah, like this year I've been actually reading Kurt Vonnegut. I started at the beginning.
Oh, which books? I've read
Piano.
I've read a bunch of his.
Yeah, Player's Piano, Sirens of Titan. I'm reading Cat's Cradle right now.
That's I was gonna say that's my absolute favorite one, is Cat's Cradle.
Yeah. He's just fun to read. You just like, it'll be like, for those like that haven't read any of his stuff, he'll write like kind of fantastical, kind of maybe sometime in the future, but it's kind of ambiguous what time of history you're in, or what's real, what's fake. And but there'll just be like little moments and little paragraphs and sentences where he says something so like, I don't know, just where he says something that like makes you relate to another human in a way that you never thought about as a perspective in that way. And that's my favorite part about reading him. And then his stories are just entertaining, and he's funny, and he saw the future so well. And there's so like, he literally talked about like transfer portal, like professional college football, like back in like 1950 something. Like he kind of predicted like what we're seeing now. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's so
he had the conference wrong. He was talking about like the Ivy Leagues, like Cornell buying another player for $150,000 from like Yale or Dartmouth or something. So he got the conferences wrong, but he had the idea right.
That's great. Yeah, we need to fire up another. I've been doing still kind of, I've slowed down my pace this year compared to when I launched the book club, but I still have very much enjoyed doing it. And I probably should do, I've done a decent amount of older stuff. It's easy to kind of gravitate to some of the newer writers and things that are getting buzz, but maybe that would be a fun theme for a year of like throwback classics, and maybe stuff that, not stuff you would have read in school, but might've gotten slipped through the cracks from, even big writers like Vonnegut.
Yeah. I'll be down to do something like that.
We should, well, I just want to read this. Christopher Nolan is doing the Odyssey with Tom Holland, and I haven't read that in a long time, like probably since I was in college. So, and that's just something I want to do, is I want to just reread a bunch of the like classics, like not classics like since the birth of America, like classics like Greek and Roman. So maybe we group read the Odyssey. I'd be very hip to that.
I did read that in high school, but man, it's funny you're saying, because I'm reading right now Cloud Cuckoo Land, and there's like so many references to like the Greek mythology, and it's based on a story from that, and it's like, sometimes I'm just like not in the mood for it. It can just be like so dense. But then there are some nice highs in there as well.
Well, that's the thing is when you go and read anything, like you read Hamlet, you read anything that's like really foundational Western literature, you'll realize like, oh, my favorite book or my favorite movie or my favorite whatever is just just literally like a beat by beat retelling of this with iPhones in it or whatever, which is just very funny.
Oh,
Easy
I'm
way
the
to
same
get
way
paid.
with music. It's just like, I'm like, everything I like comes back to the Beatles or Beach Boys in like some way. It's just like, and I'm not even mad about it. It's just like, this is clearly right from this.
No, you can't be mad about it. Pat, man, it feels very good to get caught up. Maybe now that you are a small business owner, maybe we'll have to.
Not yet. Looking into.
You know what we have to do?
You want to invest in davismaddock.com?
No, we are taking no seed money right now.
I'm trying to see if I can get some of this Patreon money that Davis is getting.
Trust me, buddy. That it's enough to feed a household of one. We got to have him draft a team with us now. Now that his association with the National Football League is over, we got to have a stream.
Do you still do your home league that you would tell us about?
I do that one.
Yeah.
If you guys wanted to help me draft in that league, that'd be great. Or if there's a different league you're talking about, open it up to the viewers and do a viewers. We sell 16 spots. How many people have been a normal league?
You can do like 12 to.
We could
12.
do 12. That would be very good. Yeah, that would be very funny.
A weekly show and let one viewer call in each week.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of the big YouTubers, like Davis mentioned Flock and our friend Nick BDG, those guys have had really successful, like high profile leagues as part of their like content umbrella. They're doing weekly advice, but then they'll put a spotlight on a single league. And I know like Nick has made it where his viewers will come out to New York once a year to do the draft. And, you know, it becomes this big thing. So yeah, there's a lot of, and people around here too, like when we do a stream draft or whatever, even if there's not a lot of money on the line, people like tracking it throughout the year. I would do stuff with Fantasy Life, and we just acquired the Guillotine Leagues, and this is a super fun format, Pat, where every week one team is eliminated, the worst team that week, and so it's about just surviving. And so then at the very end of the year, it's just who survived each week. But the fun twist is each week, the team who got eliminated, all of their players go into the waiver pool. So say there could be really good players, traditional league, it's like week 7. It's just like, backup running backs. No offense, Patrick, but you might have Christian McCaffrey available on the waivers in a Guillotine League because the team who had him got axed. So the teams are getting progressively better, and the waiver wire is constantly getting an influx of talent. So it's a pretty fun format. That could be a really good one for like a listener league.
That would be really cool. That sounds really fun. And then maybe we could do like if a listener like made it to the end and won, we could do like a golf trip. Finally get the golf trip going,
dude. That sounds like an incredible idea.
I mean,
like buy-in as payment for the trip or something.
It's definitely an idea. I would leave the house for that, I think,
because I'm like legally I'm allowed to participate in gambling publicly.
Yeah.
Not that I ever did privately.
Just don't break.
We just broke news,
Patrick. That's the thing. We just got to make sure you don't break even gambling this year. Otherwise, you're going to be on the hook.
No, on the hook for extra taxes.
Either win by 10% or lose by 10%. There's nothing worse that you could do than exactly breaking even.
It's like the guy at the casino, right? And you took out however much money and you're down to your like final $20. Like that person is never just walking away with that $20. Like they're always putting it in action. That's not what they're making us do here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, no, I mean, we've talked like off air, but like I've kind of mentioned there's like a lot of like podcast networks reach out to former players.
Yeah.
They want weekly participants. I'm like, I don't know if I want to like join like a podcast network. But I do find the idea of kind of staying connected to football, talking to you guys on a weekly, monthly, bi-weekly basis, something like that. I think it could be fun. Depends on what people want. I don't know. Maybe it would get boring for some people, but it could be interesting.
No, I don't think it would.
What would interest you the most, like within the football realm, to talk about? Like, would you like to evaluate running backs and be like, I want to check out this film, or I want to talk about which guys I think are interesting, like, or any other topics? What would be the most interesting to you?
I think like a weekly recap just of the games and who's playing well and what's going on with the teams, and maybe have like the fantasy angle to it, or I could just literally like you guys could teach me the fantasy angle and I would just teach you from my viewer, former player perspective how I'm watching the game. Because I don't like, for me, my perspective is like on how the teams and the players are doing week to week, whereas you guys think about like the fantasy trends week to week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
I'm thinking about like,
there's
oh,
overlap with
there's
there's a ton
overlap.
of overlap
Exactly.
there.
There's tons of overlap. Exactly. So, and then I don't know, you can come up with different like segments or predictions, or I could roast you guys each week, and then
I mean, if you actually want to do it, I will sign up for this right now. I think this is like literally like unbelievably good content. I think people would love this.
Yeah. Let's put our heads together and figure out what would I do think having a league as kind of the centerpiece of what to discuss each week would be fun, because we could always just have the ball busting and follow along with that, and then we could see what other topics we springboard into there. I mean, we do have to ask, like, if we're in the heart of fantasy season, you got any players you're keeping tabs on? I mean, we have one of the best rookie running back classes of all time this year. We're constantly in drafts trying to think which of these rookie running backs is going to become the next, Bucky Irving, the next star. You got any names on your radar?
The Raiders. I like the Raiders running back, Gianti. Yeah.
Going out on a limb. With,
no.
Top overall.
Actually,
I'm not cut out to be an analyst. I'm not going to come up with some BS opinion for clip.
No. I actually have a question you can answer. Contextualize like watching Ashton Genty compared to watching like the GOATs, like Bijan, Barkley, like the true cream of the crop. Like, in your eyes, how does he stack up compared to them?
There's just like, when you watch some running backs, you're like, they're slippery for different reasons, and he just has that special slipperiness that's like, you just, every running back, like, I just know I didn't have that trait that he has, and I wish I had it. And he just like breaks out of tackles and keeps his body moving, and like just happens to slip and wriggle the right way. And it's just, there's guys that have that special ability, and there's like amazing running backs that have that, that like are great running backs, but they don't have that specific ability. That's like the ability with him that I recognize. It's like Alvin Kamara kind of like slips out of tackles in a weird way, where he'll just like get a few extra yards that I think like a lot of guys wouldn't have gotten. I kind of see the same thing with Chanty. So like, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it absolutely makes sense. Like, yeah. I think with running backs, almost more so than any other position, you can kind of just be like, that guy has it, and I don't know what it is, but he has it. Like, I feel like that's harder to do at like wide receiver or like offensive line. It's like, I don't know. I couldn't even begin to guess. But at running back, sometimes you just see a guy and you're like, he's definitely really, really good. Like, I don't know exactly why, but he just definitely is.
Yeah.
I feel like the other one trend that has been kind of unfortunate in NFL with the running backs is just like the lack of the pass catching back. We've just entered an era with, all those running backs that hit last year, like the Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry, and even Barkley, like, didn't catch many passes for the Eagles. I missed that. And that was like one of the things when we got so excited about you and you were getting on the field too. It's like, oh, you're going to catch all of these passes. Do you think that's like an actual trend, with that being like slightly devalued, or just kind of a blip on the radar?
I don't know. I think that like teams are pretty confident that they can get like 5 yards with like their quick game passing, Whereas like when you set up a pass to a running back, you're just trying to set up like a long chunk play. Whereas like the running back, unless you're like McCaffrey, where they're like literally designing plays for him to get one-on-one and break, on an option route. I feel like they're like coaches are just. It seems like running backs are getting less like just free release option routes out of the backfield to hook up, find a spot in the zone. I don't know. I think it's probably a team by team basis, but I think like the quick game is so good. It's just like running like little stick routes, and the inside receivers are so good at finding little slots and running little option routes that like quarterbacks can just get the ball out, and if they need a quick 5 yards through the air, they'd rather just go to the guys that run routes and catch the ball for a living rather than like the running back that doesn't practice catching the ball full time.
Well, I guess if we're actually going to talk about football now, they're like the big conversation, particularly for fantasy nerds in 2024, was like the return of the running game. Henry kills with the Ravens, Jacobs with the Packers, Barkley with the Eagles, Joe Mixon with the Texans. It was the first time in like over 15 years that running plays were worth positive expected points. And that's real nerdy, but really all it means is that running was like actually like in and of itself a positive thing, not just for balance, not just to keep the offense honest, but like actually was like gaining points. As it like just from a really high level, I tell you that, and you're like, okay, what are defenses going to do differently? Or what is my offensive coordinator? What is my old head coach? Like, what is he thinking hearing that? Is he like, we're going to run the ball even harder? Or is he like, we're going to take the top off the defense? Like, what do you think is going through these coaches' minds?
Well, I think one of the big explanations is I'm sure you guys have heard, is like the linebackers got a lot smaller than they were before.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like, when I was growing up, it was like, you just thought every linebacker was supposed to be Brian Urlacher's size. I don't forget how big he was, but like what, 260,
Mm-hmm.
And I played with a lot of linebackers that were like 225, like 230, because they wanted the guys that could run and cover tight ends, cover running backs out of the backfield. I don't know if there's any like actual data behind that, but that seems to be like a lot of the reason that people think that the running game has gotten better the last year or so, is because linebackers are just smaller and aren't used to taking on run blocks as much as they were expected to in the past. And now they're being asked to do that again. So do you have any stats on that? That's like one thing I think that I've heard coaches talk about, is the linebackers getting smaller. But if you're a coach, like you kind of just have to work with what your player, like your GM gives you. So you either have to put more people in the box to plug gaps, or it's
an unbelievably massive thing, because linebackers are smaller. More teams are like a base defense now is nickel. And there's like more dime being played than ever. So like, obviously it is just easier to run against a bunch of dudes who weigh 220 pounds than a bunch of dudes who weigh 240. Box safeties have made a comeback, right? I mean, that position was basically dead. You guys, you might have played on NFL teams that didn't even have one, right? And now it's like these hybrid style players, these 230 guys who can hang in deep coverage are like, that's all the rage. That's what every defensive coordinator wants now.
Yeah. I mean, like, I do think there's like certain teams where it can work out. Like I'm thinking about with Taron Johnson and the Bills. He plays nickel. He's not the biggest dude in the world, but he's willing to fill run gaps. And so like, if you have a nickel that's not afraid to step up in the run game, like it can work for your team. But a lot of nickels are just converted cornerbacks, so they're not always the guys that really want to be in the box tackling. So yeah, I think you can either see more hybrid strong safeties, guys that can still cover a tight end, but then also take on some run blocks, rather than relying on a nickel to be that guy all the time. I could definitely see that.
I think I asked you last time, like if you would ever have any interest in working like in coaching, or even like college or high school. Is there, I think at the time you said it wasn't quite as interesting to you as like, I want to be a player or more separated from it. Have your thoughts on that changed at all?
No, I think it's the same. Like I think playing is like the ultimate fun to me. I do see the draw of like staying connected to the game like through coaching, and for me that would look more through like volunteering with like a local high school. It wouldn't look like going and signing up to be a college coach or NFL coach. Um, yeah, just if I was to do something in professional football, I think it would be more the player personnel side of things, or maybe like the business side of running the team rather than the coaching side of things. Which that might be a lame answer, but
Is
the
that
quality
is
the
it?
quality of life's just tough. It's just tough.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too. I was thinking about Bill Belichick, honestly, lately, of how, he was like one of or we thought of him as like the most singularly focused person on football to almost a comical extent. We're on to
Hmm.
Cincinnati, monotone, like block out all distractions, do your job, all of this. And now like he's part of this, paparazzi media, page 6 kind of firestorm. And I was like, I wonder if he feels rudderless, because it was like he had this one thing that he could devote every single ounce of his attention and his time and his
Yeah.
effort. And now that that's gone, he almost just is like pulled in all these directions and feels like he doesn't have that thing, because NFL football is so all consuming for the people at the highest level.
Yeah, I mean, his story is interesting just because of like now that he has to participate in that page 6 stuff. I've heard like theories that he just doesn't even know what's going on. Like no one's filling him in with
Seems
like
like
all
it.
this stuff on Twitter and social media. Um, but like with college football and recruiting, like you have to like have a public persona, whereas in the NFL, like he could kind of hide behind just I'm going to do only the media availability and I'm only going to answer the questions I want to answer. Like that sort of media playbook doesn't necessarily work as well in college football. Maybe that's changing now with NIL and you can just pay players to come to your school. So yeah, I don't know. It's
Does
that
that
whole
does
the situation over there. It's going to be interesting to see if it plays out well.
does the way college has kind of progressed with that, does that like depress you the way it is now, more like pro sports essentially, or do you think that's a positive step for everybody?
I'm overall negative on how it's all turned out so far. I think there's like a short timeline that we can kind of like course correct, but I think that's starting to the chances of that are slimming. I haven't like fully figured out how I like feel about it, but like I feel like there has to be some way where we can, as a society, make like moral judgments on certain trade-offs that we accept, right? So like traditionally amateur sports has been an accepted part of society where we say, hey, we'll allow these institutions to provide free schooling in exchange for athletes who will get a chance to compete and represent the school. And that was seen as a fair trade-off. But as these athletic departments grew and got more resources, then we're like, hey, the student athletes should be getting more support. Like, hey, maybe some food. Like when I literally my freshman year at Cal was when we got all meals paid for. That was new, which I mean, that seems crazy at the time that they can give every kid on the team 3 meals a day. Um, but yeah, I think people have just seen there's been okay, these schools and institutions are making so much money, and the big drivers are the college football games and then March Madness and college basketball. Like these kids are the ones putting the blood, sweat, and tears. Where there's a lot more to it than just the kids. It's not just the athletes. I think that bring in all the money, but there's the support staff, there's the history of the school and the brand, all that. But yeah, like there was an argument. It's like, hey, people should have a right to share in some of the upside that these sports programs are experiencing or these institutions are experiencing. So I totally understand that argument, but then I also feel like now we've thrown a bunch of 18 to 21, 22-year-olds are making these very tough financial decisions, and oftentimes they're not even ones making the decision. It's a parent, it's a family friend, it's an agent, it's a financial advisor that's saying, hey, I can get you this amount of dollars here. And there this kid that we all fought for to have the right to make money off their name, image, and likeness is really not even the one making the decision, and the financial benefit, maybe there's a great argument that the financial benefit will help them early on in life. But honestly, I feel like over the next decade, 2 decades, we're about to see a lot of bad stories of the kids that just got taken advantage of during their college football years, and they end up broke when they're 30 years old, and they don't have a degree because they transferred to 3 different colleges to collect a new signing bonus. And so it's just like we traded all the freedom to give these kids the ability to make money at a very short period in their life, and we took away what the actual value of the whole thing was like, these are student athletes representing a university, get the opportunity for a free education, and play football or play basketball or softball or whatever sport it is. So I don't know. I'm still figuring out how I feel about it, but I just feel like we didn't execute it the right way. We were well intentioned in giving people the opportunity to make money off themselves, but we let the genie out of the bottle, or
there's
whatever
just
expression.
there's no guardrails, right?
No
Just
guardrails.
absolutely
We're
zero
hurting more than.
guardrails.
Yeah, the lack of guardrails made it so we gave every kid a Ferrari, sometimes literally.
Well,
and
the bigger
kid
issue is it's actually just the same thing that exists in the NFL, which is it's awesome for Jeremiah Smith. It's awesome for I don't know who's the quarterback who was dating the Cavender sister. We get Beck.
Yeah.
Those guys are gonna get paid. They're gonna be totally fine. But like for defensive tackles who play at UNLV, it's like worse probably, right? Like for if you don't have a good marketing gimmick and you're just like kind of like a good player or whatever, I'm gonna go play running back at Sacramento State. It's like arguably the situation is probably worse for you because you're gonna get your ass kicked more often because your school is gonna be disadvantaged. You're not probably gonna make anything else. Like it's all the wealth is gonna flow upward. There's gonna be 10 incredible college football teams. Randy Moss ain't playing at Marshall and beating Montana in the FCS championship ever again. That's over, bro. There are no more Cinderella stories. I mean, 4 1 seeds made the Final Four in the NCAA tournament. Like Cinderella stories over, done, never happening again. Just kind of lame.
Yeah, it almost like in a weird way, not to stretch a forced tie-in, but when we were talking about like content and gamifying or trying to do something just to make money or to build an audience as opposed to doing something you love, it's like these NIL, instead of like going to the school where it's like the best fit and the coach and everything is the right fit, the academics, all of that, it's just like, where am I getting the money? Like where's my best return on this? And then it's like you set yourself up for short-term success, but maybe not the best environment for you long-term. And like you said, there's probably the education on this and just the amount of people in these guys' lives who can advise them on, money in these relationships. And because you're weighing like future benefits too, right? Like, hey, going this path might be less money in the short term, but could be more in the long term versus just taking the bag in this spot. But then maybe you go there and you hate it. Like, it does seem like you need like more education and help for these guys.
Yeah. I honestly do. My whole opinion on this whole thing actually did tie into what you brought in with like the influencer economy and all that, and why I'm like, I just find it, that doesn't align with what I like find interesting or would want to focus on. It does, like, a lot of kids are growing up on social media seeing the cool kids at their high school get NIL deals to make money, and so then they kind of become quasi influencers. And so then you show up to college as a college football athlete on this team. It's like you made all this money off of like not actually doing something. You're kind of maybe reposting something, or you're just really good at the sport. And I don't know. It's just this weird whole like thing going on where it's like people would rather just like pretend to do something on social media to make money off of the people that watch it rather than actually do something. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all weird. All bummer for college football.
And then, but like, not to begrudge them, like there are a lot we know how like cruel the sport is, injuries, how hard it is to make it. And so if someone is going to front load you, this money for whatever reason, like I imagine that's hard to turn it down, especially when it's going to meaningfully change some people's lives, their families' lives, even though if it might not be the best for them in the long term. So I certainly understand people wanting to get the bag and not having the luxury to make like long-term choices, as a high schooler.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I don't follow any of the kids, honestly. I think it's it's mainly the people. It's just how the incentives have been set up. Like we should definitely bring some sort of like maybe one free transfer and then bring back some sort of restrictions after that, so kids can't transfer every single year. Maybe come up with some sort of graduation bonus. If you're a kid that picks a school and sticks there and graduates there, like
you know what, graduation bonus,
graduation
bonus is big. That's big.
Basically, just create like a Senate, like give people freedom, but then also create an incentive structure that encourages the behavior that we want to see, which is kids going to a university, picking the best school for them, working your butt off to move up the depth chart, and then graduate from that university. And then if you're good enough, you'll be the best player on your team, and then you might get a chance to play in the NFL. I don't know. It worked well.
Did we just come up with your $1 million business idea? The NIL infrastructure consultant here?
Just a lot of money in consulting, Pat.
See, the issue is the people with all the money and decision-making power in the sport don't want the system to change because it's working well for them at the top. So that's the big problem.
Yeah, you go ask Ryan Day in Ohio State.
Why would they want it to change?
Pete has a meeting. I've got a best ball stream. So, folks, we are gonna go ahead, get out of here. Thank you very much for listening, for watching. If you would like a weekly fantasy football / football related show with these three jamokes, feel free to get in touch. Talk to you soon.
Peace, guys.
Peace.